Good day, old gun guy here. Welcome to my part two of battle rifles of both world wars. In part two here, I'm going to do the Lee Enfield British British service rifle for 3/4 or more of a century. It's in caliber .303 British. I think the European designation is 7.7 millimeter by 56R. It's a bottleneck rimmed cartridge, very much like the Soviet 7.62 by 54R, and they're both from the same era. This is the oldest military cartridge. It still serves in some parts of the world, but 1889 it was adopted in its smokeless form. I'm going to go into the cartridge first, and then a very fine Lee Enfield rifle. This is a World War II version. It's number 4 Mark 1. No, number 1 Mark 4. Let me get that right. Sorry about that. Number 4 Mark 1. I have all the numbers mixed up in my head. The cartridge was developed in at the dawn of the smokeless powder era. There was a Lee Medford rifle, and I think this cartridge was initially loaded with black powder and a 215 or 20 grain round nose projectile. It transitioned into the smokeless era, and it was adopted by the British military 1895, I think, 94 and 95, in a smokeless version as their service round. And the earlier versions of this rifle, it was adopted for the number 1. I actually have, there's so many versions made. I'm just pulling this out of the Jane's recognition guide, but number 1 Mark 3 or number 3 Mark 1. There's so many variants. 37 million Mosins were manufactured in its run. 17 million of these were manufactured in its various forms in its run. It's a lot of rifles. The 303 British, as it came to be adopted, the earlier loadings in combat they found were entirely inadequate with the round nose bullet. It just punched clean holes through the adversaries. So at some point they adopted a soft nose bullet prior to the Hague Conventions, laws of land warfare, and that was outlawed as it enhanced suffering of the soldiers, did a lot more damage. Basically, it's a hunting bullet, a soft nose hunting bullet. 1910 they settled on this, and this is the final form: 174 grain, full metal jacket projectile, flat based, not boat tail like a lot of other military rounds. At the end of its run in the 50s, early 50s, they adopted a boat tail projectile, same weight. The specs, it's 311 thousandths of an inch projectile. The land dimension, which is the high point of the rifling, is 303 thousandths of an inch, which turns out to 7.7 millimeter. It's basically just about a .30 caliber. The max pressure, SIP in Europe rates it at 53,000 psi, and SAMI spec in the United States is 49,000 psi. That's the chamber pressure they established for this. It'll fire this 174 grain bullet around 2,450 feet per second to 2,500 feet per second. That's pretty standard. This is a commercial made round, basically copying the British service round, but this was made by Remington. And it's non-corrosive. The cartridge is proven effective in battlefields all over the world. It's still knocking around on some battlefields to this day in various parts of the world. Some police departments and militias still use this rifle and cartridge combination. The 303 British has taken game of every size all over the entire world. Obviously, it's not optimized for any type of large or dangerous game, but it has taken those animals and because that's all they had. They didn't have, purpose-built elephant rifles to use. With soft-nosed hunting ammunition, it's perfectly adequate for, medium to even large thin-skinned game like elk or moose or black bear, deer, and it's still used in Canada and many other locations as millions of these rifles are knocking around. I have some actual World War II ammunition here, surplus. I probably have a couple hundred rounds of this stuff. It was dirt cheap years ago. It came in stripper clips. These are the World War II stripper clips. This is, if they did the head stamp research, this was made by Royal Arms Laboratory, Woolwich, and so I guess that's one of their armaments factories in England. It has a 1945 head stamp, and I think the 4-digit whole year head stamps was the Royal Air Force. I have fired these rounds in the past. About 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 never goes off. I guess they just have gone bad over the years. But they get corrosive priming compound, and although I was shooting them in the Moisen, I'm not going to do that in this Enfield. I'm actually quite fond of the Enfield, and I don't feel like doing all I have to do to clean the corrosive primer stuff out of the barrel. The maximum effective range of the cartridge listed by the Janes or the military is 500 meters or 550 yards, accurate. And over shooting this rifle over the years, and this is a Navy, it was imported by Navy Arms. They brought this rifle, and I got this many years ago from Navy Arms. It's very pleasant rifle to shoot, very accurate. But the cartridge, I have some commercial hunting style rounds here. The camera keeps doing it, just cuts off on its own. I'm back here. These are Remington Corlock 180 grain projectiles, 303 British. This is what you use going deer hunting if you had one of these. So many of these rifles come into the United States that, like all military surplus rifles, they're sporterized, and people go hunting with them. But that's what a hunting round would look like in a 303 British as opposed to the military full metal jacket. It has pretty fast rifling twist, all the Enfields, 1 turn in 10 inches, so it'll stabilize heavy bullets. And if you hand load, you can use heavier bullets if you want, 200 grain, 220. I don't know who makes them. I've never tried loading 308 projectiles. I should try that sometime. Sometimes they'll stabilize just fine. They'll catch the rifling. The British Empire was the largest empire, both in the area it covered and the amount of people it ruled over in the history of the world. At its height, in the early 20th century, it ruled over a quarter of the Earth's surface and a quarter of the world's population. It was an empire for about 300 years, and the stupid World War War was one of the stupidest wars that ever started in history, and it destroyed a lot of European powers, and it set the British Empire into its initial descent. The Second World War finished off the British Empire. British Empire was pretty much done by 1947. They were bankrupt in 1946, and if it wasn't for the United States bailing them out financially with a loan, they would have went belly up. And the Second World War, the most destructive war in human history. And the First World War led up to the Second World War. And this rifle, like the others, fought in both world wars. And World War I, there's 20 million people killed. And it started out very stupidly, a war that really shouldn't have happened. And but everybody got into a pissing match, and I guess they thought it would be like the Civil War. It'd be over in a couple of weeks, 4 years, and you know, much destruction. The settlement of that war led to the Second World War, the rise of Hitler, and the most destructive war in human history. 70 million plus people killed, and this weapon served there too. It's manufactured not only in England, Canada, their colonies, their territories, the British Empire, India. I think they were also in Ishapur. It was manufactured in the United States by, I think Savage had a contract to manufacture these for the British government. Various other protectorates, but 17 million were made and it's still in use in battlefields. In Afghanistan, like I mentioned with the Mosin, the soldiers run across these, and in Iraq, they've been shot at and shot with these, I'm sure. That's how prolific these rifles were. I'll go to the rifle. This particular version, actually the sling I got is 1944 on it, stamped. I don't know, I didn't look up the letters, but you know, it's original sling. It's a very smooth bolt action, but I'll go over the features front. It's got a front sight post protected by these ears, very heavy, well-built ears, full-length stock, and this actually got a nice stock one. It's got these nice cuts in a stock, you know, like a gripping point in the upper hand guard. Bayonet luggers on the end of the barrel. The barrel is 25 inches long. The earlier versions of this were 30 inches, you know, pre-World War I, World War I ones. But this one is 25 inches. And being a No. 4 Mark I, it's got a heavier barrel, so it weighs a little bit more than the earlier Enfields. This one weighs 9 pounds. 25-inch barrel, 10-shot magazine. And of the 4 rifles I'm going to demonstrate, this is the only one with a detachable magazine. You get a little magazine release in the trigger guard here, and it's stiff. Push the spring in. There we go. Comes out. And I actually have a spare 10-round magazine. The British military, originally against that, they figured the soldiers would lose them in the battle, the magazines, and you know, everybody's a bean counter. But it's interesting, of all the rifles, this has a left-hand rifling twist. Most of the rifles, the other service rifles, have a right-hand rifling twist, and this has 5 lands and grooves. Kind of like the 5R rifling that's so popular today. All the times I shoot this gun, it's very accurate rifle. You know, for battle rifle, for what it is. It's 10-shot magazine fed. It cocks on closing. So when the bolt, I don't know if you see, this is the striker. When the bolt closes and locks, the striker is cocked. The Springfield, the American Mauser, the German Mauser, and the Mosin will cock on opening. This has like an interrupted thread locking system in the rear of the receiver. The bolt is different from the other rifles in that the locking lugs are on the rear of the bolt. And it creates a little bit of problem for hand loaders. You get about 3 firings out of a case because the action has a little spring to it and the case is stretched and they get work hardened. This rifle has a nice brass butt plate. I mean, the stock's in very good shape. You know, straight pistol grip. Trigger's got this nice curve to it. It does have a safety. It's on the left side, has a receiver at the rear. This is fire forward, and this is safe. When it's all the way back like that, disconnects the trigger. You put it forward, and you see a striker going. Comes apart. It's a little more involved. Oh, I forgot to mention the sights. This has a like a ghost ring battle sight, but it's got the long range aperture sight. It flips up. So you flip the sight up, it's got a micrometer knob on here and gradations that go from 100 yards to 1300 yards. That shows up on the camera. There's the markings on the receiver. And this is the striker, you know. When you open it up, it doesn't cock. That aims in the speed of the action. The action is real smooth. But on the other bolt actions, you're fighting the bolt to cock it as you're extracting the round. You don't fight the bolt here. It's just doing the extraction. When you close it, and your arm generally has more power going forward, cocks the action, you're ready to go. It's very fast firing. In fact, the British infantry trained to fire 20 to 30 aim shots in 1 minute. They call it a mad minute, accurate shot to 300 yards. And experienced infantrymen use these to great effect. The Germans on the receiving end of this rifle, in both World Wars, sometimes they wanted the machine gun fire if they had a bunch of infantry firing at the the spot, because they would be firing so rapidly all together, and that's how many bullets were coming at them. The aperture sight is extremely fine. I think it's the best of all the 4 rifles I'm going to review here. This being number 1. It's got a nice fine front sight blade, and the aperture is superb. It really is. Take the bolt out of the gun. You got to pull the aperture sight up first. This way it's out of the way. Open the bolt. Come back to this. There's a little detent here, a little spring-loaded detent. You got to push this down. Bring the bolt head to this position where it stops at the end of the receiver, and flip the bolt head up, and then pull the bolt straight out of the gun. Put it back together, you gotta line things up just perfect. But one thing you gotta watch with the Enfield is this twists around. You can take the whole bolt apart, but the bolt heads are interchangeable. You know, unscrew them out of the bolt body, and you want to make sure they're back in place. These are the locking lugs on the rear of the bolt. There's one here, one here. It's got quite a big extractor, and on the bolt face, let's see, get an idea. It's spring loaded, but it gets quite a bit of grip on a cartridge. Put the bolt back in. Now, obviously, all you need this is for cleaning. It rides kind of vertically in the action. Like to moisten, the rear of the receiver is open, so you got to get it to the point where you rotated the bolt head, and you rotate it down into its track, and then once you clear this part here where it rotates, you're good to go. Put the gun back together, and that's the ghost ring sight on the rear, battle sight, if you will, wide aperture, close range shooting. The magazine, 2 5-round charges to load the magazine, and it's got the highest capacity of all the bolt guns. The moistens 5 shots. You can drop the rounds out the bottom of the magazine. The American Mauser, the 03A3, they only come out the top, and that's 5-shot internal magazine. And the K98 Mauser, same thing, internal magazine, 5-shot. This has the highest capacity. Let's see, what else can we say about this gun? I do enjoy shooting it, and it doesn't recoil due to its weight. It doesn't really have a lot of recoil, and you'll see that when I do the shooting tests. I'm going to do my usual batch. I'll do the chronograph. I'm really going to just use the military Remington ball. I'm not going to use a hunting ammo or anything. This is a 174 grain metal case, full metal jacket, and I can't get over the price. I don't know when I bought it, but it was 18 bucks when I bought it. This stuff was $35. I think it's on the box here somewhere. Yeah, 35. It was hunting ammo though. And I'll run this over the chronograph too. This is hunting ammo. This is a Yugoslavian soft point. It's reloadable. It's 150 grain though. It's a lighter bullet, give you a little more velocity. You know, that'd be a good choice for deer hunting. A lot of jungle carbines come in the country, and they're not really accurate because they lighten the receiver, they lighten the barrel to a point. They chop them down to 20 inches of barrel, and the barrels tend to whip, and you know, really it disperses the shots. If you get 3 MOA or 3.5 MOA out of a battle rifle, you get a very good battle rifle. Because that's all they were really spec'd out for. You know, its primary purpose, infantry combat weapon. Was it later sportivized and used for hunting? Yes, there's many examples around. You'll see them with the, you know, most of the stock gone. It looked like a, you know, semi-modern hunting rifle. This did soldier on into the 90s as a sniper version. You know, it's totally different stock. They had it in 303. After they adopted the 308 in 1957, so this served from 1889 to 1957, and they switched over to the 308 NATO cartridge. They converted a lot of these to 308 NATO, and the Indian also, Ishapur, and they were coming in for a while, chambered these guns, manufactured them in 308, 7.62 NATO. Power-wise, if they do the chronograph, look at the energy figures, but it's in the ballpark of 7.62 NATO or 06. It's, you know, it's full power battle rifle cartridge. They might be slightly more powerful, but any and all of them are, well, a lot more powerful out to their effective ranges of 500 meters or so than 223, regardless of the bullet weight. Yeah, do the chronograph test, do a comparative recoil test. Do the ballistic pendulums, where I shoot the 223 against the 303. I'll do some 100-yard accuracy test off the bench. It's been 15 degrees out, so I'll be doing that in the uber cold out there. Depends on how I do on the target, because I haven't shot this in a while, so I don't know where it's printing with this ammo. I'll try and engage the 220 yard plate, the 200-meter plate I got hanging in the tree with the iron sights with the bench. I'll do some offhand shooting at the plates, a couple rounds, just to show it in action. And a thermal effects test. I use one of the 174 grain Remington FMJ. PPU, the Yugoslavian ammo manufacturer, makes this. And also the Czechs, SMB, sell them below. And they're reloadable, centerfire. One more thing about the cartridge. This cartridge, bottleneck rimmed, the 7.62 by 54R Russian, the moistened round, the 30-30 Winchester, and the 22 Hornet are the only bottleneck rimmed cartridges left in existence. Everything else is rimless, like this 30-06. You know, modern design. But these are, if you will, archaic design. Everything with the rim cartridges in a box magazine, you can't have a cartridge behind the one below it. You know, most of the magazines are designed to accommodate, so when you push the rounds in, the one going in on top of it is, you know, the rim is in front. This way it feeds into the chamber. If it's the other way, you're gonna get jammed. The 30-30 is mostly in lever action guns. There's probably a few bolt guns knocking around, so it's a different, you know, different feeding system. And I think the 22 Hornet is mostly bolt guns. But I don't have a 22 Hornet, but it's just an old historic cartridge. Yeah, I'll do the tests, and then anything I forgot, I'll try and cover in the summary when I come back. I'll throw all my stuff on, and we'll get to that. Okay. At the chronograph, I'm going to do 2 loads with the 303 British. First up will be this Yugoslavian PPU commercial ammo. It's got 150 grain soft point, like a hunting bullet, just out of curiosity. And the second load, I'm only going to do 2 shots apiece because ammo's expensive. 174 grain 303 British full metal jacket, like the Mark 7 load. Gee, look at that price, 18 bucks. I know when I bought this a few years ago. It ain't that anymore. Okay. Make sure I'm in the camera here. Yeah. Let's say 2654. $26.45. Not bad. Let me change the string. All right, now 2 shots with the 174 full metal jacket. Looks like that. $24.91. I only recorded the one. I'm gonna try one more shot, and if it don't record, it don't record. It's very cloudy out. Let me just move the chronograph. Move this back some. All right. Try one more shot. $24.82, and that'll be it for our chronograph test. The other camera's close up on it, and I'll go over that in the summary. Let's say 2654. $26.45. Not bad. Let me change the string. All right, now 2 shots with the 174 full metal jacket. Looks like that. $24.91. All right. Try one more shot. $24.82. And that'll be it for our chronograph test. The other camera's close up on it, and I'll go over that in the summary. Okay, at the 100-yard bench, gonna shoot the 5 shots. This American-made Remington UMC. On a 74 grain metal case. I got 5 rounds on a stripper clip. I'm going to use the micrometer sight. Let me load the gun. Alright, I got the close-up camera running. I'm going to use a 6 o'clock hold. See how we do. That one I think I pulled a little high. Don't want to lose a brass. I'm going to go down and check that target out. Enfield. I'm going to try 5 shots. I used a 6 o'clock hold. I'm using the 174 grain Remington metal case. Yeah, not a bad group. The one I pulled it on the bench with the other camera. I was aiming right about here. So a little low. I have to bring the sight up. I'm going to try the 200-yard plate. Let me pause this camera and go back. Okay, got a decent group with the Remington ammo here. I pulled one shot. It's shooting a little low to the point of aim at 100, so I raised the sight a little bit. I got the long range camera on the 200 meter plate, 220 yards. I'm going to try 2 shots at that, see if we can connect. Yep, right on the money. You hear the ring. And 2 for 2. All right. Gonna move on to the other test. Let me stop this camera. And I definitely like the Enfield a lot better than the Moisten. That's just my personal opinion. Let me shut this off. Okay, got a decent group with the Remington ammo here. I pulled one shot. It's shooting a little low to the point of aim at 100, so I raised the sight a little bit. It's a long range camera on the 200 meter plate, 220 yards. I'm going to try 2 shots at that, see if we can connect. Yep, right on the money. You hear the ring. And 2 for 2. All right. Okay, ballistic pendulum test. Center plate 223 out of a 24-inch Savage bolt gun, 55 grain FMJ, and the right plate will be the 303 British on a 74 grain full metal jacket. Remington. Okay, a lot more energy out of the 303 as you would expect out of a full power battle rifle cartridge. A lot more energy. Next up, comparative recoil, the 2 rifles. This camera on me. And okay, comparative recoil, the 2 rifles, the 223 Savage Axis versus the Enfield. I got the other camera running on the overall scene. I don't know how that'll come out. All right. I think I'm in the shot. And pretty much 0 recoil out of the Savage. Let's see the Enfield. And a little bit more recoil, but not unpleasant at all, even with the brass butt plate. I really like the micrometer sights. Don't want to lose our brass. Okay, comparative recoil, the 2 rifles, the 223 Savage Axis versus the Enfield. I get the other camera running on the overall scene. I don't know how that'll come out. All right. Implement a shot. And pretty much zero recoil out of the Savage. Let's see the Enfield. And a little bit more recoil, but not unpleasant at all, even with the brass butt plate. I really like the micrometer sight. Okay, I'm just going to take some offhand shots at the plates. I get the other camera running on the overall scene. This is just showing the rifle cycling and the recoil impulse. Low. Shooting at the distant plate. That's a 220 yard plate. Do some a little closer. That's 4 shots from our World War II Enfield. Very nice shooting gun. I'm going to go into the terminal effects target. I got to set that up, so I got to shut these cameras off. Low. Shooting at the distant plate. That's a 220 yard plate. Do some a little closer. That's 4 shots from our World War II Enfield. Very nice shooting gun. Okay, terminal effects test. I'm going to get it in here before I lose a light. On a 74 grain full metal jacket. This is a Remington commercial round, but it duplicates the original, I think the Mark 7 British 303 loading. Got the other camera running, 1 shot. I got this sitting way back because of the, it got drenched yesterday from a motion. Alright. Okay, here we go. Actually, I forgot to explain. 6-inch jug of water, 3/4 inch piece of plywood. That was shot before but marked. I got a Folgers coffee can full of water. It's 6 inches deep. A witness board. Another 6 inches of water. Another 3/4 inch piece of plywood. That's fresh, not been shot. A fourth water jug. Witness board between that and the coffee can filled with water. So it's 5 water jugs. 2 pieces of plywood, and it's backed up with some plywood. See if we can capture a projectile. Okay. Let's clean this mess up, bring the camera on in, and we'll see what we if we captured the projectile and what damage was done. Okay, let's clean this mess up, bring the camera on in, and we'll see what we captured the projectile. Okay, for the autopsy on this, let's see, bring it closer. The camera didn't get wet this time. A lot of energy imparted to the target. I only caught a fragment of the bullet. This is it. The bullet come apart, shed its jacket, and broke apart. First shot went in here. This water jug, blew it up. Come out pretty clean. The unshot piece of plywood, the first piece of plywood, was going through sideways, and this actually looks like a fragment went through here because this was clean, unshot. Sorry, I get that mixed up. This is the first piece. That's the entrance after hitting the jug of water, and that's the exit. And you can see it's starting to tumble. Second water jug, piece of it blew in that way and ripped. I don't know where it came out. I got two projectiles. I think the thing broke in half, and somehow they drilled holes. This is yesterday's, a moisten. This is a clean piece other than that strike there. The next water jug looks like it went in there. Well, maybe not. Went in here sideways. Traversal water. It looks like a fragment come out the one side there. This is the clean piece of plywood. I'm sorry, the projectile is clearly what's left of it's going sideways, way off the point of aim. Point of aim is like in the middle here, and it exited blowing all that wood out. So it's two 3/4 inch piece of plywood. And a piece of it clipped just the edge of this clean witness board, right there. That's all it did, and it didn't hurt the last water jug was fine. I found a fragment on the table, and the rest of it went off to the right. This one got hit with probably a fragment, and it blew up and split. There was nothing inside. So, pretty powerful round, pretty effective, even in a full metal jacket form. You know, a lot of times when they strike anything, you know, rifle bullets, they'll start flipping, and that's what this showed. But I just got the nose part of the lead. You know, jacket's gone in the base. I assume it broke in half. So that'll be it for our thermal effects test in the 20-degree weather here. And the light's just right, but it's fading now. So going for the summary, and that'll be it for our shooting demos. Okay, back from my summary on our very fine Lee Enfield No.4 Mark 1. I forgot to mention, the name comes from the designer James Paris Lee, and the Enfield small arms factory in England. So Lee Enfield. I think British did that with the Sten. The guys who invented the Sten, ST, I forget their names, and EN was Enfield. But I have the Jane's little, recognition guide of the world. The first Lee Enfield they have listed here is the carbine magazine Mark I, and that ran from 1896 to 1905. And then you had the Mark III, that's why you get confused with the numbers. And that ran from 1907 to 1943. And then obviously it was followed by this, the No.4 Mark I, the World War II version. I think they had a Mark II after it too. I don't know what design changes they made. Went through the chronograph data, I have it here. The 150 grain soft point hunting type ammo, the Yugoslavian stuff, PPU, 150 grain jacket soft point, velocity was 2,650 feet a second, and the energy foot pounds were 2,339. And the military, basically British military duplicate load, 174 grain full metal jacket, made by Remington. The velocity was pretty much on spec here, 2,488 feet a second and 2,392 foot-pounds of energy. One thing I forgot to mention in the introduction, when they went to the Mark VII ammo, the ball, this stuff, I believe they biased the weight of the projectile towards the rear, and that was to cause flipping and actually a better wounding effect, because they couldn't use their soft point dum-dum bullets anymore. That was another thing I forgot, the Dum Dum Arsenal in India. That's where the name comes from, when they had soft point hunting bullets. But something the Soviet Union did when they designed their AK-74, the 545 by 39 cartridge, the weight is at the back of the projectile. So as soon as it hits anything, it instantly flips. And a flipping projectile creates a lot more wounding effect. The one after this, they have the jungle carbine on here, and that was the World War II modification to this. They cut them down, and I think the barrel is 20 inches. I don't know if they got it here. Everything's in metric, and my brain's working in slow motion, but they really weren't very good guns. I fired a few over the years that belonged to friends of mine, and they really wasn't impressed with them. That was made from 43 to 47. Chronograph test, basically the main battle rifle cartridge, you're in the same neighborhood as the 7.62 NATO or the 06 or the 8mm Mauser. This might be just the bottom tier of performance compared to the 7.62 by 54 Russian and the other three, but only by a little bit. They're all going to do their job out to 500-600 meters. Went to the accuracy target. I have that over here. The sights are very good in this gun. Of the 4 rifles, it's far superior to the Moisten, but this is about a 3-inch group. I threw this one. That's me. But iron sights in the cold. I was aiming right here, so it was a little low. Adjusted the sights up so I could then engage the 200-yard plate off the bench, and I tagged it both times, no problem. And I was using a micrometer sight. I actually found the name for it. There's actually a correct name, but long-range aperture sight or long. It escapes me at this moment. One of the benefits of getting old. Tag the plate, no problem. Off the bench, the recoil is pleasant. It's not, if you're gonna get hurt by a gun, with recoil, or felt recoil, it's gonna be off a bench. Especially if you're in an awkward position like I am on that bench. Because it ain't a flat range, it's up and down. Went to the ballistic pendulum test. I have the 2 8-inch plates, 223, parts its energy, the 303 British, a lot more energy. It's evident and obvious. Comparative recoil did the same thing. 223 Savage axis versus there's nothing with that axis. It's like shooting a 22 long rifle. It's basically nothing, but this has a little more recoil, but it's pleasant to shoot. Like I said, it's in a 9-pound rifle. and it's quite manageable. I did some offhand shooting, at the plates. I missed one plate. I hit the rock at the 100 yard one. The 201 yard one, I'm about 200 yards from where I was filming. I take the 200 yard plate, no problem. Like I said, it's got the best sighting system, far superior to either the German Mauser or the Mosin. Of the 4 rifles I'm going to review here, the 03A3 Springfield and the Enfield have the best sighting system. The German Mauser, not so much. The American Mauser, much better sighting system. So it was an improvement over the Germans. I really like the aperture sight. I have on occasion shot this. Last time I shot this, I had to dial the sight down. It was set for 500 yards. I was using the military 174 FMJ PPU ammo, and the range, public range, has steel torsos out to 500 yards, and I had no problem tagging them. It's quite enjoyable actually when an old warhorse like this with iron sights and be able to pop them out there. I have to look up what this means on the sling. J and A and H period, 1944. It's got the same Woolwich arsenal marking, the 3 like 3 lines or 3 arrows. The same thing is on the head stamp of these cartridges. Did the terminal effects test. I had 5 jugs of water. I ran out of jugs, so I had 6-inch coffee cans, empty coffee cans. It's an analog for a human or a animal target, animate target. 6 inches of water, 3/4 inch piece of plywood. That was shot before but marked. Another jug of water, 6 inches. I had a witness board, them little boards that capture the bullets, if they start flipping or deviating from their aiming point. Another jug of water, another 3/4 inch piece of plywood, another jug of water. I think I had a witness board and then a final coffee can, and then some plywood just to back it up. As you can see when I relayed on the video, the autopsy of the terminal effect, it started, blew right through the plywood after one jug right through the plywood, then started tumbling. Because you can see it in the coffee can, it's going sideways, in the witness board it's going sideways, shape of the projectile. And it broke in half, and it went through one of the witness boards as 2 chunks. And it clipped the last jug, it didn't really hit it, fragments hit it, and went through the second piece of plywood, no problem. But the only thing I recovered was this little tiny, the nose of the bullet without the jacket. The base broke off, and all I had was this little fragment of lead. I didn't bother weighing it. It must have fragmented in a couple of pieces. But then again, it would have an enhanced wounding effect in combat, far more so than the Mosin round, which you could reload back in the case. That was completely undeformed, would be the better penetrating round. This would be the better wounding round of the 2 I used. Yeah, covered that. It's an enjoyable rifle to shoot if you run across one of these and you're interested in World War II small arms. All 4 rifles actually World War II, because even the Mosin was made in 1932. It was after World War I, and obviously they saw service, any of them made up until World War II. It's a shame, the 2 destructive wars of the 20th century. But this soldiered on in many conflicts besides the imperial wars that the 2 world wars, many other imperial colonial wars. Being an empire, they had a whole bunch of brushfire wars that erupt in Africa, South Asia, all over the world. I kind of liken the British Empire to the relationship to the Greek Empire, and then being passed up by the Roman Empire. The USA is Roman Empire 2.0, And just like the Greeks, well, a lot of the Roman emperors were fans of the Greek culture and people, and they adopted a lot of their customs and such. The Emperor Hadrian, the Roman Emperor Hadrian, he was a big Greek file, but the Romans conquered it and devoured the Greeks, and it made them part of their empire. After the Second World War, the British Empire was no more, and it basically under the protection of the United States. That might cause some people to get ruffled, but most of Europe became a vassal state of either the United States or the Soviet Union, and that was the whole period of the Cold War. Yes, they're independent countries, but the modern Roman Empire does carry a lot of weight, and the counterbalance to that was the Soviet Union. And the great game is still going on. Empires rise and fall, and if we're not careful, the American Empire go the way the Roman Empire did. People don't like to think of the country as an empire, but in reality, historically, there's quite a lot of similarities between that and the Roman Empire. But that's enough of that, going into the weeds. Got Christmas coming up. If you put the bell on the thing, it'll notify when I drop on, but I probably won't do another video. The next video up is going to be the 03A3, the American Mauser, and that's a good gun too. I like shooting that. My father-in-law, who fought in Guadalcanal, carried one of them in the Marine Corps in combat. He passed on now, but greatest generation. But the Marines got all the leftovers, the hand-me-downs. The Army had the M1 Garands, but his guys all got the 03A3 Springfields. World War II weapon. There's a World War II weapon. This was made in 43, I believe. 43 or 44, I'm not sure. The sling says 44. I have to look up the numbers again. Very fine rifle, very smooth shooting rifle, enjoyable rifle. If you have a sporterized version, you go hunt with it, you get a good hunting rifle. They're kind of clunky to mount scopes on. They do have mounts adapted for this. You have to drill the receiver and put your scope on, but some of the sporterized ones had that already done. But I think I've covered everything as regards to this rifle. Like I said, the grooves cut in the handguard, a nice addition. They did away with that in some of the models. They just had all smooth wood. I think they had checkering. I don't know if they consider this checkering, but I think they had checkering in some of the Enfields. Like everything, as it gets manufactured over many periods of time, things change. They modify things, and this has been through several modifications and iterations. And like I said, it's still serving today in some of the state militias within countries and police forces. And I don't think any active there may be some active military still using this, the former colonial powers as a service weapon, but it's good, reliable, accurate. It's the smoothest bolt action operating of the four rifles. The Mausers are pretty good too. The Moist is kind of clunky. This is very smooth, and it's a pleasure to shoot, even in the 15-degree weather. Like I said, I don't know when the 3006 Springfield 03A3, that one was made by Remington. I'll do that next, and the last will be the K98 Mauser. But for now, that's all I got. I'm going to say good evening. I'm Old Gun Guy. If you like the content, like and subscribe. And have a good night.